Good day, students. In this presentation, we will be looking at the requirements for completing the B.Ed FET qualification. Now, there are a number of important things that you need to understand in order to ensure that you do complete and graduate this year. The first thing is the number of credits that you have to obtain. The minimum number of credits for the B.Ed degree is 512. So in the FET phase, most of you should be aiming to finish with 512 credits. It is possible that some of you will obtain more credits than this, but you cannot have less. And this is something you need to be very careful of. We have had students in the past who have found themselves to be 16 credits short at the end of the year, and they had to come back for a semester in order to pick up those 16 credits. So please ensure that by the end of 2021, you will be on 512 credits or more. The second important factor to bear in mind is that when we say that this is a 4-year qualification, what we actually mean is that you have to be registered for 8 semesters. So you cannot complete the B.Ed degree in fewer semesters. Now, this is particularly an issue for students who may have withdrawn a semester in the past 4 years. If you are doing now your 6th and 7th semesters, you cannot complete your degree this year. You will have to return in 2022 to do the 8th semester. So please ensure that you are doing your 7th and 8th semesters, or possibly your 8th semester this year. Now, if you are a transfer student, so in other words, you started either another qualification at UKZN and then transferred to education, or possibly you spent time at another institution and then joined UKZN. If you were exempt with credit from some of the modules you did either in your initial degree or at your initial university, and we have recognized those modules that you have done and we have exempt you from some of our modules with credits, then it is possible that you may have a semester or 2 recognized as well. These are called deemed semesters. So if you are a transfer student, your semesters are not only the ones you've registered with us, but also includes semesters that you may have completed at other institutions or in other colleges or schools where you have picked up credits. If you've come to us with no credits, then you do not have any deemed semesters either. So whether you have deemed semesters or not, the total number of semesters that we have to have recognized is 8. Finally, you need to satisfy the curriculum requirements for your particular phase. Now, there are a lot of similarities in the curriculum requirements for the different phases, but there are also some unique requirements. And these are the ones that you really need to be aware of, and make sure you don't get your requirements confused with those of other phases. So what are the curriculum requirements? Well, the first requirement that you can see here is what we refer to as core modules. Now, the modules listed here are compulsory for all students registered for a Bachelor of Education degree, regardless of what phase they are specializing in. Now, there's one exception which I'll point out just now, but essentially everybody has to complete Education Studies 210, 220, 310, 320, 410, and 420. So most of you should be doing your 410 and 420 modules this year. Secondly, professional studies, everybody should have done 110, 120, and 210 by now. And then in this phase, you register for 230. Now, everybody does do 4 professional studies modules, but the 4th one, the one that you pick up this year, depends on the phase you are in. So in the FET phase, you register for Prof Studies 230. Then, of course, everybody does teaching practice 120, 220, 320, and this year you should be registering for 420. Then in first year, everybody should have completed computer literacy, academic literacy in English, commonly referred to as ALE, and then one foundation module must be completed in order for you to complete your qualification. So most of you should have done either Africa in a Globalizing World, Diversity in Learning, Perspectives in Human Nature, or Mathematics 110. The fifth one that is listed here, Critical Inquiry and ECD, is generally not recommended for students who are not in the primary phases. So most of you should not have done Critical Inquiry. Languages. Now, according to the University of KwaZulu-Natal's requirement, every student registered for an undergraduate degree has to do a module of isiZulu. Now, it is also a requirement for the Bachelor of Education that everybody does a module in a second language. Second language here means other than English. So if you are not an isiZulu mother tongue speaker, then you should have completed or be doing Conversational isiZulu 110. In fact, most of you should be registering for it this year in the first semester. If you are a mother tongue speaker of isiZulu, then you should be doing Communication in isiZulu 110. So please don't confuse these two modules. Communication in isiZulu 110 is for mother tongue speakers who have generally done isiZulu up to grade 12 or are fluent speakers of isiZulu and can read it and write it. Conversational isiZulu is for students who do not speak, read or write isiZulu at all or have very limited knowledge and ability in this language. Now, if you are a mother tongue speaker of isiZulu and you want to specialize in teaching isiZulu, then you should have done Communication in isiZulu 120 as well. If you are specializing in English, so you want to be an English teacher, then you should have completed either English language course, commonly referred to as ELC, or English Communication 110. So if you're specializing in English, you should have done one of these two courses as well as ALE. So in other words, if you want to teach languages, then you have to have two, what we call conversational modules in that language. Now I have Afrikaans Communicasie 110 listed here, although most of you would not have had this option in first year. If you've done Afrikaans Communicasie 110, so in other words, you registered quite a long time ago and have come back to complete your degree, then this module would count as a second language module for the purposes of the B.Ed qualification. However, it would not necessarily exempt you from doing the compulsory isiZulu module. However, if you're an isiZulu mother tongue speaker, you can actually be asked to be exempt from the Communication in isiZulu 110 module, in which case Afrikaans Communicasie 110 would be your compulsory second language module. But as I said, most of you would not have had that option, so you can ignore that. Then you need 2 FET subject specializations. So these are subjects like accounting, business management, physical sciences, mathematics, life sciences, and sports sciences, and so on. Now, for your phase, you have to complete a minimum of 12 FET content modules and at least 5 in each of your subject specializations. Obviously, most of us would prefer you to do all 6 content modules in our particular subject specializations, but it is not required. You have to complete 5 of the content modules in each of your specializations. Now, what happens if you don't do all 6 in each of your specializations? Well, if you only do 5 in a specialization, then the 6th module has to be replaced with another 16 credit FET content module. Now, this is very important. You have to do 12 FET content modules. So if you decide not to do a 410 or a 420 module, please do not try to take something like technology or life orientation or arts and culture. They are not FET content modules. So FET content modules would have the number 210, 220, 310, 320, or 410, 420 after them. So ensure, please, that you have completed 12 FET content modules by the end of 2021. Now, for each of your FET subject specializations, you have to do 3 method modules. Most of you would have completed your Method 1 and Method 2 modules already and will be registering for your Method 3s in the 2nd semester this year. Now, once you've completed all the modules I've mentioned thus far, the only thing left are what we refer to as elective modules. Now, the important thing to understand about an elective module is that an elective module is essentially a module that you are picking up just for credits. So the purpose of elective modules is simply to get you to 512 credits. Now, an important thing to realize is that there is a requirement about mathematics in the Bachelor of Education degree. And that is that if you do not have a pass, now pass is 30% and higher. So if you do not have a pass at matric level in either core mathematics or mathematical literacy, then you should have done Maths for Life and Teaching. Or if you started off maybe in intermediate senior or foundation intermediate and then changed phase to FET, then it is possible that you might have done basic mathematics instead. But if you do not have a matric pass in mathematics or maths literacy, then you have to have done either Maths for Life and Teaching or possibly basic mathematics by the end of 2021. We check this very thoroughly when we do the ERS checking at the end of your 4th year to determine whether or not you are degree complete, and we have occasionally come across students who have not met this requirement. If you do not meet this requirement, then you do not complete and you do not graduate. Please note, this is for students who do not have a matric pass. If you did pass maths or maths literacy in grade 12, then you should not be picking up this module. Now, if you have accidentally done it, but your mark was in the 40s, or the 30s rather, then it is possible that we will allow that. But if you got 60% and higher, or even 50% and higher for mathematics, then you are not allowed to do this module. This is not an elective module for everybody. It is only for those who do not have a matric pass in mathematics. In terms of the other elective modules, in your phase, there is no rule about what these electives can be. So you can do another language module. So if you've done ELC or English Com 110 or isiZulu 120, those will count towards your credit. You can do another foundation module if you choose, or you could do another FET content or a senior phase content module. Occasionally, students also ask permission to do modules from the intermediate phase that are relevant to their particular specializations. As I said, it doesn't actually matter what these modules are, except for the Maths for Life and Teaching. That's the only one that we tend to check who has done it. But the others can be anything. But the elective modules, remember, are just to get you to 512 credits. So before you register elective modules this year, check how many credits you have already completed. Check how many compulsory curriculum modules you are picking up and how many credits that will give you. and then only pick up electives if you are short of 512 credits. If you follow this advice and you compare what you have done with what I've said here, it should give you a fairly good idea of whether or not you are on track to complete this year. If you have any further specific questions, please do not hesitate to contact the ADOs or Dr. Singh Pillay or myself, Mrs. Good, for further clarification during registration. Good luck for this year.